I've served in Siachen, again as a major. I've commanded a brigade in Jammu and Kashmir in a counter-insurgency operations, so that experience. On top of that, I was Major General Artillery in Northern Command. The entire artillery of the Northern Command, including Ladakh and Kargil, was under me, so that experience. So, I may not be the best person today to talk, but surely I'm the next best person. So, then I asked my friend Atharva here, what should I talk? So Atharva said, सबको पता है सब कुछ, आप क्या बताओगे? I said, yeah, that's true. Then he said, नहीं सर कुछ anecdote बताना, make it anecdotal. So then I was thinking, and war, how do I make it anecdotal, especially if I was not there? I had to really scratch my brain. But he also said, when a history is to be बता देना आगे पीछे, तो चल जाएगा. So that's how I shape my entire talk, with the basis that I try and give out something that is not known. I really don't know how much the audience knows, but invariably an audience always into bits and parts. Some people know a lot, some people don't know anything. The majority are in the middle, who know yet don't know. So what we will do is I construct my talk for about hopefully 40 minutes and leave the better part or the lesser part, depending upon how you look at it, for question answers. I just hope people ask questions, and only in the question answers can real answers come out. Okay. So another thing he told me, कि सब picture देख के सबको कुछ पता है. So there are so many movies on Kargil that have happened, and I also have seen all of them, and I've always wondered, where do the directors get their ideas from? But I guess picturization of a war is a difficult phenomenon, primarily because nothing can replicate war. Movies are made for entertainment, but war is a bloody messy business. So the real life and real life, when it comes to war, are entirely different. I have this clip from Sher Shah, and let's hope it gives you some idea about the difference.
तुम्हारी माँ की
It looks very real, no? Very, very real. And you think, wow, what a great job. And let me put some perspective to it. I was talking to I was commanding when he was one of the officers with me. He took part in Op-Vijay. I was talking to him this morning. We connected after a long time. So when he was narrating to me, he was telling me, sir, within 200 meters of that bunker and us, we were stranded for 48 hours without movement on the hilly tops of a ridge which was flowing out of or close to Tiger Hill. Imagine a man stuck up. It was not a man, almost two companies' strength. A company is almost about 100, but assuming 60 are there because of whatever war condition, 100 people stuck on a small slope for 48 hours without food and water. Now, Siddharth Malhotra travels half that distance in 5 seconds and lobs a grenade also. He told me, sir, there was casualties lying. We just could not go and pick them up because the moment you came out of the boiler, get shot. That's the ferocity of war. I have another clip which somewhat depicts some reality.
Avenged the death of his company commander, Thapar, who shared a very close relationship with Acharya, whom he called Thau, charged the same bunker that took his friend's life. Meanwhile, the second attack led by Major Mohit Saxena and Captain Kengkuze was not faring too well. The plan for their assault was very bold. They had been tasked to go through the enemy defences and attack from the back from a feature called the Low Hill. This hill had a sheer 90-degree climb from the base. This route had been chosen because the enemy would never expect an attack from this area, as the route was so steep that climbing it was nearly impossible. Or so they thought. Captain Kengruze and his Gata commandos had attempted this climb for just those same reasons. A young Naga, this officer was one of the bravest officers in the entire battalion.
Okay, the second clip is close to reality because the slope you saw, that is the kind of slope you are climbing. And not the slope which Siddharth Malhotra was shown to be climbing. It is very hard. It is in the daytime. So now imagine like the Harpali story. He talks about the rape and he says nothing, it was a white girl. I think it was famous novel, which one? And yeah, come back. Very Pune. So everything is at night. A day attack is an exception than a reality. It is only when you know that you have no choice. Empty number of times in Op-Vijay, you are stuck in the sight of the enemy when you get daylighted. It's called daylighted when you start from the base to attack a feature. By the time you reach 50 meters of the feature, when you started at night, it becomes daylight. 6 o'clock in the morning. Now if you are there in the daylight, throughout the day you are going to lie there. It is better to go and attack that feature. Some of you will die, but if you didn't attack, all of you will. That's the cruelty of war, where the choice to be made is whether few die or all die. But when you're taking that choice, you know that somebody will die. Okay, that was as far as the movie was concerned. So, many of us think that this problem happened when Op-Vijay happened. I hope you know when Op-Vijay happened, Kargil. Date, anyone? Date we are talking about? It's 1999. 1999. But no, that is not the reality. The Kargil problem has been existing since 1948, when we got independent and when Pakistan turned from Mujahid army, which they sent the raiders into India, to Pakistan uniformed army. They had actually captured the heights of Kargil. They were the ones who were occupying these heights. In 1965, we captured the heights around Kargil, most of it, which we are talking about today. The balance of it, we captured in 1971. Now, I don't know whether you are familiar with the geography, but this is the IB and the line of control. From here it becomes line of actual control, LAC. Somewhere here is the Siachen Glacier. So if you see Kargil, the extension of Kargil ridgeline is Siachen Glacier. This area, Siachen Glacier, was captured by us later, but the area west of it, Turtuk, was captured by us in 1971. Anyone who studied that would realize we captured Turtuk in 1971. Hence, Pakistan has always been wanting to wrest this territory from us because we had taken it from them. In fact, in 1990, Pakistan had launched not exactly an offensive or a plan for an offensive to capture these heights again. That plan had failed. If you recollect, there was a helicopter which was shot on the borders of Kargil, Turtuk by one of our AD guy, Igla missile was used, and the brigadier was shot. The Prime Minister had gone to pay his for the funeral. It was in paper, so I'm saying. So that attempt, that, what should I say, foiled attempt in 1990 gave birth to 1999. Most of us feel that the problem started after the bus journey by Prime Minister, so-called the Lahore bus yatra, followed by Lahore declaration. But again, that is not true. What is the truth? The truth was, even as the bus yatra was going on, an act had already been performed. Now, what was the act? As per the Shimla agreement, there was an unwritten understanding between the Pak Army and the Indian Army that some of the posts higher than 15,000 feet, which become so snow-clad in winters that they are inhabitable, you vacate them and come down to areas which are more manageable and where you can inhabit. When the summer starts, somewhere in May, you again go up and occupy that. In the winter of 1998 and the early part of 1999, Pakistan did not vacate those heights. And not only that they did not vacate those heights, they came and sat on heights which our army had, Indian army had vacated. And that is how the whole controversy had actually started. How is it that we never found out? We never found out because we never thought that will happen. But as the winter receded and the summer came, somewhere we faulted of not checking back what has happened to those heights which we have vacated. Usually, there is a routine regime of patrolling that takes place on sensitive points where you just go and see whether anyone is there or not. This was probably not done or probably not done in the right earnest. As a result, what happened? As a result, Pakistan army actually came and sat, and when it was found out on the 3rd of May, 1999, one of these shepherds from Kargil area who was grazing his sheep somewhere came down to report to a Indian Army battalion that he's seen some people digging on top of a hill, top of the mountain, with unfamiliar faces and different dress, a kurta pajama, black one, the so-called Pathani suit. That is where it all started. Suddenly, when we came to know, we started now doing patrolling, and we realized when the patrol of Saurabh Kalia was ambushed and he was killed, that story you will be knowing, that we are up against a problem. And that problem was incursion had taken place, yet the media or the intelligence sources or maybe Pakistan wanted us to understand in this way that while incursion has taken place, it was not because of the regular army of Pakistan. It was some ragtag Mujahideen force which has come and occupied these heights. These heights. The incursion was almost 150 kilometers wide. Now, a couple of questions come here. I have already answered the first one as to why. There was a history. The plan to infiltrate and capture our heights did not start just like that. It was a well thought out, well planned, and the entire hierarchy of the armed forces led by Musharraf was in know of it. In fact, the plans that had been carved out, as I understand, did not only belong to Kargil, it had actually extended beyond also, both towards Srinagar and there, but ultimately they only did this much. Now, why? Why now? Why now? lot of people ask why did they do it? So one reason I've told you that they had already. The second more important reason was when we occupied Siachen, the Siachen glacier I showed you, there was a race to occupy Siachen. Some of you must have read about Op-Vijay. Siachen was occupied by Indian Army who outran the Pakistani army and captured most of the ridges which are overlooking the other side. Now, in tactical defensive battles, if you hold the ridge line, you automatically land up with an advantage of not allowing the enemy to come. So, Pakistan in Siachen is at a disadvantage. Most of the places. They were smarting under this so-called defeat and they wanted to take a revenge. As a result, there was no better place than the Kargil heights, primarily because the National Highway 1 runs so close to the Kargil heights. It runs so close to the Kargil heights, this is the road, which is along the Indus, that you can 4198 and interdict any convoy that is going on this road. In the early months of May and June, early days of May and June, the enemy sitting at Sololing, Tiger Hill, point 4875 made impossible the movement of logistic columns from Srinagar to Leh on this road. Now, for those of you who probably don't know, Leh for us is a very important logistic area. That is because the entire north and the northeast, that is the eastern Ladakh, is fed through Leh for all logistic things, especially our fuel, that is the petrol and diesel. Now, Leh, by the virtue of the amount of snow that happens there, is cut off 6 months. Earlier it was 8 months a year. Now, if a place is cut off for 8 months a year by road, unless it is winter stopped, you cannot provide to such a large garrison of troops the logistics that they require in terms of the diesel, petrol, rations and all other medical supplies. And that is why throughout the summer, this road is used. This road is used to carry all these rations from Srinagar up to Leh, stopped it, we call it winter stop. Now if Pakistan sat on these heights, they could stop the vehicular movement, at least in the day. Kargil town was in May in such a bad situation that you could not walk out on the streets with constant bombarding from the enemy artillery. So this was a very good target for them to take. Now, what did it mean to us? It meant to us that if you did not take back this, you will have this problem in perpetuity. Now, why in perpetuity? All they required was to sit on those heights for one summer. Come winter, those peaks would have been absolutely unapproachable. Once they are unapproachable, you get good about 6 to 8 months to dig in Pakka defensive, get your logistics from behind, and thereafter there is no way anyone can really capture it. So it was very, very essential for us that we capture these areas before the next winter started. If we didn't do it in that winter or that summer, we would never have done it. And even the Pakis knew it and we also knew it. And that was the imperative for Indian Army that they had to get rid of it. So, question somebody else can ask, why did we not do an Op-Sindhu? We did Op Sindoor now. Why could we not do an Op Sindoor? Now 1999 was a different phase. It was not an year of technology or the period of technology, both in terms of either the weaponry or in terms of the aircraft. Technology had not, the media technology had not really matured to that extent. But more importantly than that, the government put a stipulation on the entire armed forces that you will not cross the LC. Now, where is the LC? This is the LC. Now imagine an aircraft, okay, and the ridge lines run north, this is north on top, this is south. Most of the ridge lines run north to south. Little bit northwest, southwest, that kind of a thing. But most of them are north to south. An aircraft which goes in for bombarding this, before it releases its bomb, it would hit the LC. It has no turning radius. And that was a strict no-no. So whatever was done was obviously done obliquely. The Air Force played a stellar role in containing the Pak intrusion or stopping them where they were. And in the bargain, they lost 2 aircrafts, lost a pilot, lost a B-17, entire crew. They in fact flew, as I understand, almost 550 sorties during this operation Op-Vijay. Something which is not known to most people, but the Air Force tried the level best in the realms of the possibility. And in fact, it is the LBG, the laser guided bomb on Mirage 2000, which actually did a lot of damage on in places like Kargil and Pune. So now let me come to just explaining that where were the Pak intrusions and how were they. So there is a sector called Batalik, which is in the east. Batalik sector. Now the Batalik sector, as you see, runs away from the NH1. The NH1 runs closest to 0.54875, Tiger Hill, Tololing 0.5140. As a result, it became mandatory for the armed forces to get rid of these first because of this NH1. When the army formation, which was 8 mountain div, they were fighting in the valley, they were moved in for an offensive. There were 2 tasks given to the GOC, only 2. Remove the incursion, overall. Second, get rid of this nuisance of people on these 3 before even you move. Because the incursions were quite a lot, but these 3 were directly affecting the road. Consequently, what happened was, operations were launched all over. Operations were launched in Batalik, on Tololing, on Tiger Hill, 0.4857. However, on Batalik and Tololing almost near simultaneously, but nobody has heard about Batalik. Actually, operations in Batalik were as fierce, if not more. The reason was, the ground in Batalik was such that you had to traverse long distances. The roadhead itself was so long, just see. 50 kilometers was the roadhead. You had to lug everything. No road otherwise. You have to lug everything almost on the back and take it there. The formation which was there, 70 Mountain Brigade, strung into open in nothing but wind and the cover of a peak ahead of them for 2 months. I really don't know, in that altitude at 0, -20, -10 degrees, with wind chill effect, just sitting, you will freeze. So operations happens, this. Now I'm not going to get into the operations because I know, but it will get time consuming. Maybe somebody wants to ask, you can ask a question. So I will get anecdotal. Some anecdotes, it's not anecdotal, nothing is funny. It's all happenings. And through them I'll try and explain the degree of difficulty that happened. So the first operation started end of May. That was by 18 grenadiers. They were told, go on top, there are 5-6 militants there, just kill them and come back. So these guys went, 50 meters shot. They were fired upon heavily by MMGs, LMGs, everything. They realized that this is not 5-6 ragtag, this is full-fledged platoon sitting there, more than that. They calculated almost 50. The first casualty, officer casualty, was a major called Rajesh Adhikari. So when Rajesh Adhikari was told to go up, at that point in time he didn't realize how difficult it would be. He had got a letter. So he said, I'll go on top and read it. And he told his friend, I know what it is. It is from my wife. Come 24th of June is my anniversary. How do I tell her? How will I get leave? But still I'll read. Rajesh Adhikari reached the top, 10 meters from the nearest bunker, and got a burst of MMG, died on the spot. He never left the road. Now Rajesh Adhikari's body was lying there for 4 days with his operator. They could not extricate the body. So the CO decided, I will go. Kushal Thakur, Colonel Kushal Thakur. So when CO decided to go, the 2IC Colonel Vishwanath, he said, no sir, the CO cannot do it. You are required to be here. You have to provide leadership. I will go, allow me to go. Ultimately, he prevailed on the CO not to go. CO said, okay, I will be behind you go. Colonel Vishwanath, Lieutenant Colonel, reached near Rajesh Adhikari's body, realized there is no way, told his platoon that was with him, give me covering fire, it is my responsibility to bring him back. These people started firing to give him cover fire. He reached the body, he pulled it, but he got hit. When the CO rang on the CO called on the radio set, the operator said, "Saab ko goli lagi hai, bahut खून बह रहा है." So he said, "Okay, get him down, both of them down. We'll immediately evacuate you to the RAP." They got him down. They took him also to the regimental aid post, it's called RAP, where there is a medical facility. And the CO was with him when Colonel Vishwanathan said, "Sir, I don't think you should waste time on me. I will not survive. Please take somebody else in my place." Saying this, he kept his head in the CO's lap, and the CO saw his life ebbing. The first time, I think, a Lieutenant Colonel 2IC died in the CO's arms. And this, when just before, 2 days before or 4 days before, Rajesh Adhikari had also. And this is the first battle. 13 Jack, which was a Pulton, which was tasked to capture point 5140, which is extension of Toroli, behind higher. CO was YK Joshi, Colonel YK Joshi, who later became the Northern Army commander. Very famous man, I'm sure you would have. And once I give a reference, will come. He went to meet Kaushal Thakur, CO 18 Grenadiers, who's vice died, to take a briefing, sir, kya hai, aage kya hai. He saw Colonel Thakur sitting in a pit, unsafe, everything is on the slope and the ridge. He told him to sit down. He was not speaking anything, so Colonel Joshi Kargil Joshi had just come back from leave. He was a major. Came back into the war, realized that his CO has been evacuated because he fell sick or something medical. Promoted to be Lieutenant Colonel, handed the battalion command. Right in war. Imagine you go as a major and you end up commanding a battalion in war. I don't know whether people can understand the gravity of it. Sat down, everyone was quiet. He suddenly realized why everyone is quiet, and he looked to the left and he saw 8 bodies lying there. One of Rajesh Adhikari and one of Colonel Vishnu. He says that is my induction into Kargil. The first induction. Anyway, .5140 was to be captured by K. Joshi 13 times. He had 2 very promising youngsters, Captain Vikram Batra and Captain Sonal Jamwal. After all this, he went down to brief them what to do. They had to go through 18 grenadiers. So this is a higher point. They had to do. So he was explaining. At the end of the briefing, he asked them to pep them up. You have to give me a success signal when you reach there on top and win. So what will be your success signal? He asked Jamwal, okay, tell me what is your success signal. So he thought for a while and he said, ya yo yo. Ya. Why ya? So this is my hunter squadron in NDA hunter squadron. This is my hunter squadron slogan, ya. So I will give ya. Okay. Vikram Batra was sitting. So he asked, Vicky, what will be your success signal? So he thought for a while and he said, sir, my success signal will be, ye dil mange mujhe. So Colonel Joshi says, I said, that's not very funny, He said, no, sir. So not to discourage, he let it go. Both these boys went at 5140 and gave the success signal as stated, and ye dil mange more became a slogan household. Vikram Batra did not die on 5140, he died somewhere else. So, I'm getting emotional and trying to recollect what I have to say as my next anecdote. Now, there is an anecdote about Batalik sector. So, unknown to most people, 22 Grenadier Battalion of the Indian Army has a company of pure Muslims. 22 Grenadiers was asked to capture the front 4 bunkers of Khalubar range. No, 4 ridges here. Khalubar is one of them. Jubari was started, Khalubar, Khaluta, and one more, 4 ridges. Major Ajit Kumar was leading that battalion, company. Now he knew the task, how difficult it was. They got stuck. Suddenly, one of the Nayak, every battalion has a war cry. I don't know whether you understand that. Jai Bhavani, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj ki Jai. So this company had a war cry, Allahu Akbar. They started saying Allahu Akbar. And marching ahead. Listening to that, the Pak companies were sitting, platoon sitting on top. They thought the reinforcements have come for them. And that's how he gained a foothold on that ridge. There is an act of a young Naga boy Captain Kangaroo Singh. So Nagaland has, in officer rather very few officers, and they take it as a matter of pride. To Rajrev. This is now coming to the next. There is a ridge line which comes from the next. Yeah. Okay. So this was following. This is the next ridge line. This is this ridge line I'm talking about. So he was attacking, supposed to be attacking from here, low inside. Same thing. So imagine that it's a 70-degree slope. On top, there is a bunker which is fully covered, has a weapon to that, and only two people can climb on top. And on top of that, all the stairs are broken. And on top of that, you have mines on right and left, and it is night. Now, this is the degree of difficulty that prevailed in that general degree. Operations of two Rajdev were getting stalled at Lone Hill. Nall and these three pimples were the main target. They were getting stalled here. Ultimately, the CO ordered Kangaroo Singh to capture Lone Hill so that Lone Hill actually it prevented enemy from coming from here to here. So if you captured Lone Hill, you could control the enemy neither coming down nor going up. Very important. But Lone Hill had a near 90-degree slope. Near 90 degrees slope. Kangaroo Singh was the commander of the Ghatak commando platoon of that battalion, 2 Rajasthan. When he was ordered, he realized he is unable to climb because apart from the sheer vertical cliff, it is foggy and raining, slippery. Temperature is minus 20 degrees with wind chill effect. You know, if the temperature is less than 0 degrees, you go out and touch a metal. What will happen? Your skin will stick to that metal, and when you lift it, it will come out and get blood. We are now talking about minus 20 degrees with wind chill effect. What does this boy do? He realizes he can't climb anymore. He removes his shoes, socks. He climbs barefoot. That 90-degree slope. He reaches the top. He throws a grenade. He gets a burst. He gets a stone from there. He falls down 100 feet and dies instantly. Got a Mahavir Chakra. But because of that, his balance of the people were able to capture Lone. It took a long time for them to recover his body. Every battle was bloody. Every battle was bloody. There were no, in fact, the battle after this, the battle of point 4875, which was the last of the battle, fought somewhere in the end of July, was the bloodiest battle. This is the place where Vikram Batra died. Vikram Batra was not meant to go into the attack. He was deliberately given by his CEO a reserve company, Charlie Alpha Company, and to man a fire base. Because he had done so tremendously well in capture of 5140, CEO said, you don't do it. This was also relevant. Somewhere in the battle of 5875, one of the 2IC of that company was Charlie Company, got an MMG burst, medium machine gun burst, such that his entire heel flew off. So he was just lying there, unable to move. Imagine your heel is just cut off because of the burst. He was just lying. Vikram Batra, this is my colleague told me this morning. From nowhere he came from behind, charged and said, give me cover. He wanted to retrieve. It was Kargil. He managed to do that. He saved that boy, but he got him burst and instantly dead. And that is where he got his peace. At 4875, when the whole top was captured, they realized that the Pakistanis' bodies were all strewn around. Because the Pakistani had the state policy of not owning up that it is not our regular army, these are militants. Hence, they never claimed anyone on their own. Consequently, nobody collected the remains. In 4875, they were in every place, even in Kargil and Tololing area, they were given a proper burial on top. A Maulvi was called from our battalion 16 grenadiers who was down below to come up and recite the Salate Janaza, which is the last rites prayer.
Today, we are carrying out the burial of 7 Pakistani soldiers who have laid down their life in combat here as a mark of respect to the soldiers who have died.
Compare this to what they did to Saurabh Kalia. He took his eyes out, he broke his hand, he broke his fingers, he disfigured his face, and all 5 of the boys who were with them, they did the same thing. And this is what we did to the Pakistanis. My final anecdote before I end up is about an incident where the only time probably in the history where a commander wrote a citation for the highest award for gallantry for themselves and for the enemy. It was in the Battle of Tiger Hill. Brigade was 192 Mountain Brigade. The commander was Brigadier MPS Bajwa. MPS Bajwa. One boy of 13 Jackal, Sanjay Kumar, or was it Grenadiers, 18 Grenadiers, Sanjay Kumar, who got 15 bullets on his body, managed to beat that bunker in MMV, fell down, managed to recover, rolled down, and told the company commander below that a counter-attack is coming, be ready. Passed out, he got a PVC. He wrote this citation, and he wrote a citation of a Pakistani officer called Colonel Sher Khan, Captain Colonel Sher Khan. He belonged to the 12 NLI. He found out from his people that why is one particular place not being able to get any success. So the boy who was there, was a sick boy, who said, साहब जी, एक वो कप्तान साहब ने उनको वो लीड कर रहे हैं और सबको जो है वो उतना मोटिवेट कर रहे हैं, 3 बार आ चुके हैं. Thrice he came, we repulsed it, he came back again. So the orders were that kill him first, obviously. So they killed him. When the commander went on top and realized that there was this, they got the body, found out from his whatever little icon he had, that he was Captain Colonel Sher Khan of 12 NLI. So that commander said, I want to write a citation for his bravery. So whatever paper he had, on that paper, 4 lines, he said, this officer has been very brave in battle and he must get his due in terms of award. Left that note in his pocket. He got the body from top to the brigade headquarters, kept that body in front of his bunker where he was staying, got permission from his GOC and higher up to move that body to Delhi and repatriate that body from there to Pakistan, who were not owning him. They disowned him for 15 days. Till somebody in Pakistan must have created some kind of a pressure group. Through Red Cross, finally, this body was repatriated back to Islamabad, and much later, he was awarded Nishan-e-Haider, the highest gallantry award for a Pakistani officer, like our Paramilitary. In memory of all the fallen ones, 527 killed, 1300 injured in Kargil, there is a Kargil War Memorial which now exists. From where you can see the Toluli Peak. It's become a tourist spot. Not only a tourist spot, now it has become greater than a tourist spot. Every May, June, hordes and hordes have come. These are the graves. The names are written in golden letters on a wall. Yet they continue to remind us the horrors of war that a short war like Kargil can do.
शहीदों की चिताओं पर जुड़ेंगे हर बरस मेले, वतन पर मरने वालों का बाकी यही निशान होगा.
I've finished. Is there any questions? I think we are emotionally enough charged not to even speak. But if there are any questions, anyone?
Sir, I don't have a question, but I do have memories of some of my pilots.
Yeah, please share, please share. Just one second. You can just get in now.
I'm Pankaj Mehrotra, retired Air Commodore. Sir, you had mentioned Mirage 2000, the laser-guided bomb. Although I'm quite shaken by the wonderful presentation and the not really anecdotal, historical facts which you have brought out, I must say that when we were getting the Mirage 2000 from France, I loaded the first Mirage with the first laser-guided bomb in France. And that was in 1985, and it was of use to us now during Kargil in 1999. So, defense forces, what they do is not immediately visible to the entire world. It need not be. You don't have to know everything, because what you know, the enemy will also come to know. Ask your questions circumspectly, always. Walls have ears. Be careful. You are equally loyal citizens as all of us are in the service. You are also soldiers in some odd way or the other. And my pilots who were there in Kargil, dropping the bombs in from Mirages or from Canberras, the stories they have come and told us, the photographs they have taken of Indian Army personnel, literally laughing away their worries and the grave physical torture what they have to undergo. No Hindi or a Bollywood movie or a Hollywood movie can ever capture it. I'm a witness personally to their narratives as to how difficult even it is to fly there, let alone be there on foot. And kudos to Indian Army, sir, and to you for bringing out this on a very poignant note today on the Vijay Diwas celebration here. My salute to Indian Army, sir.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands raised, so maybe the poignancy of the moment, the emotions are taking the better of us. Sometimes better just to probably think one day. And thank you all for being so patient. The idea was tomorrow is the Kargil Vijay Diwas. And not only tomorrow, every time there is a Kargil Vijay Diwas, this lecture will always stay in your mind. So some thought, hopefully of yours, will go to those peaks. Thank you. You have a question? Yeah.
So that was a very moving experience which you shared. All those experiences were really very touching. Just a more, I would say, more mundane kind of question. Now with drone technology and all those the kind of things, would they really prevent or avoid this kind of a situation where the enemy is able to occupy the high altitudes and we come to know of it a little late, maybe too late? Is that something which can be avoided or prevented now?
So, obviously, you always learn from the past. So a mistake like this will not be committed again. The problem is, with every technological development, the mind races ahead of you. So while you are on the earlier time, you have to go inside the territory of the enemy and hit and extricate yourself and still get casualty or no casualty. You can do that without going into the enemy territory and yet get hit. So this mistake will not be committed because now adequate surveillance exists all over before you know. And more than that, army will now never vacate these posts again. There is no chance. But yet, Pakistan is an enemy whose existential motto is somehow try and do something against India which will give them a high to think that they have avenged everything that has been heaped upon them. It's a victim state. The mentality is of victimhood. You can do nothing about it. So the guy who's in depression loves to remain there because that's where he's deriving his pleasure from. He doesn't want to come out of that. And that's a very typical syndrome. That's the problem with Pakistan. So while something like this surely will not happen, but what could happen with them, one doesn't know. So, pertinent question is that to anticipate in future what they will do, at that point in time, this mechanism working so well that one never thought that it will happen, yet it happened. So you can't, and the present dispensation is Pakistan is as good or bad as it was that time. So your guess is as good as mine.
Was the victory of Kargil the reason behind putting terrorism at the front line afterwards, like till date we see, like 2001 attack, 2006 attack, and we had. Because instead of war, they was the reason of the victory of Kargil that Pakistan chose to terrorism over actual war or battles.
So there would not, there would not be a definitive answer to that question, but somewhere what I answered earlier, that everyone learns from the mistakes. So I can tell you Musharraf tried his level best to continue to occupy those heights. Okay? There is a book, by Shabazz Boozer, American Pakistani, who's written about Kargil conflict from Pakistani perspective and what was going on in Pakistan. And he says that when Pakistan lost Tiger Hill, he had ordered his Special Services Group, SSG, which is like our commando, come what may, I want Tiger Hill back. Obviously they couldn't take it. So a defeat is never taken easily by any armed force. It will always play back. So in a way, because you cannot win a conventional war, you start a sub-conventional war. And what was the best way of sub-conventional war? Is through terrorism. So there is a byproduct. You could very well say right. Very well be right. But there are many more factors to it, but one of them could be.
Sir, we had control at Siachen, even at the time of Kargil. Couldn't we make use of it and attack over there? Would that really help for us? Because I have been to Siachen, so I am aware. I have been till Kumar.
Are you a defense service person?
No, sir.
So,
I was a civilian over there.
your question does suggest that. I'm just getting into that. While on the map it might appear that Siachen and Kargil are very close, trust me.
Sorry, sir, I was not pointing that way. I mean, it was like we had more control over here. I mean, it's like.
So Siachen cannot affect the happenings in this side. So this Karakoram range, the mountains are at a height of 18 to 20,000 feet. There is no way you can cross them. And even if you one person cross, see, armed forces is not about a man alone. It is all about logistics. You got to supply them with ammunition. So there is no way that this connectivity on road could have been maintained. There is a connectivity by air. But then air is very vulnerable to air defense weapons, so it couldn't have been used. There is just no way you could have done anything. Ridge lines running like this, just imagine how many ridge lines, 20 of them before you tell me.
One quick question is, you mentioned our political class didn't allow our soldiers to cross LC. Now we have always said that, this is Pak-occupied Kashmir and it's our territory and we have done that in our parliament and all that. But in spite of that, if there is a incursion, why didn't our political class allow us to cross LC when all these things were happening and it was wide open for the whole world to see?
Yeah, please. I think that is a very legitimate question. And surprisingly, the study of Kargil tells us that while Pakistan did its level best to unsettle India, occupy its territory, come and save, destroy, disrupt, yet we were conscious not to go the other side. Why? Because we did not want the conflict to escalate into a major war. Wanted to localize it. Had we crossed the LC, it would have been declared a war. When you cross the LC, it's deemed to be that you are coming to my territory and it's a war. They took the rules of they are not regular army. Till the end they kept maintaining it's not the regular army. They are, homegrown militants, your militants, not even our militants. So lack of clarity and lack of proof is the reason why the government may have been scared to take this matter into their own hand. International pressure would have been so much that how do you say that it is Pakistani army? You got to give some proof. At that point in time, the proof came much later when you got the dead. Came much later. And that time the government had already announced that, yet there is reference given in VP Malik's book in which he says that he had requested the Prime Minister, sir, you have said it once, please do not say it again. And then he goes on to narrate that Brijesh Mishra, his national security advisor, went on the television the same evening, gave an interview in which he said, not crossing the LC is true today, but may not be true tomorrow. So, but yet it remained, as far as the armed forces is concerned, as a rider. Because they thought maybe we don't want to escalate it and keep it localized. See, now we have the benefit of looking back. At that point in time, even your own people would have questioned, what is the proof? So the government has to look at many things in that. And looking at the trends that are existing now, they are surely happened by somebody. So I think the purpose of the lecture has been served. Thank you very much. Thank you for being patient and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, sir, for those words, a moving and heartfelt presentation. And I would also like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the audience present here today. And as we remember the valor of our armed forces, we should hold close to these words, that our tricolor does not fly because the wind moves it. It flies with the last breath of each soldier that has died protecting it. Jai Hind, and once again, thank you all.
कसं बंद आता एक महिला विचार हम त्यांना विचारलेलं अरे कभी लाइव किया था तो कुछ तो मैं कैसे बंद कर लिया सीधा डायरेक्ट बंद कर लिया
Stop streaming this.